Nihar, thank you very much for being here.
Thank you.
Can we start by asking you to tell us more about Motilal Oswal, what the company do? I know it's a fund, you invest in real estate.
Yes. So Motilal Oswal is a very old group. It's a diversified financial services group. It's more than 35 years old. I'm a part of the Alternates platform, which invests in real estate. That's relatively newer. It's about 13 to 14 years old. And we've been active in the Indian markets, investing in residential real estate primarily, and to some extent in other asset classes over the last 12, 13 years. These are all funds that are raised largely from domestic investors in India and to some extent from investors outside of India, family offices and Asianites. So we've been active in the tier one cities in India in these segments.
When you look at the market at the moment, we see pretty much every single asset class very promising from the conversations we talk to the players. But if you had to pick one or two, what would be the most promising ones?
So I think residential real estate will probably take that spot. And the reason for that is residential in India has always been, maybe 70 to 80% of all real estate. And over the last maybe 2013 to 2020, it has been fairly subdued for varied reasons. As a country, we've been through a lot of regulatory reforms, a lot of organization, which has kind of, did disrupt the sector a bit. So it was very subdued. The demand is back, but it's nowhere close to what it should be given the other macros, right? Even last year, for example, we sold only 2/3 the number of homes that were sold in the country in 2011. So, and as a country, we've grown significantly in the last 12 years. So that just talks about the latent demand that is there, right? That's one. And second is, in general, even the government's, initiatives focus on housing has been very strong. So combined with the latency in the demand and the focus from the government perspective and the capital requirements, I would probably pick residential. Even though all asset classes are promising in their own way, I would probably pick residential surely because of the size.
Perfect. There's a lot of optimism in the market. Of course, there are challenges, but I hear a lot of optimism about the future of India and what's coming. We do have elections next year, though. Is that something that worries you? And are you an optimistic, realistic, pessimistic?
So I'd say that, keeping all political affiliations aside, I think the one thing that we've had is, some kind of stability over the last few years. And I think the expectation, even the next year, is that the stability will continue. And as a result, unless there's a major change, which I think is unexpected, typically is there's just a slight slowdown before the election period. And I think the same thing will happen, because there will be certain, people will not be sure about how things will play out. So for about 3 to 6 months, there will be, stagnation in activity. But I think things will just pick up back to where they were left right after. And in the long term, I don't think it will impact anything and the story will continue.
And what's the main challenge that you're facing nowadays in the business? And how are you addressing it?
So we are actually right now in a kind of what you'd call a bull cycle. And most of our existence and our performance has been in a down cycle, which is from 2013 to 20, right? Contrary to what people think, it's actually equally easy or maybe easier to go wrong in a good cycle because there are a lot of good opportunities. It's a lot easier to make mistakes, in a good cycle because you only know that there are mistakes in a bad cycle. So I think the biggest important factor for us is to make sure that we stay core to our strategy and we keep a focus on the ground and we do what we think is right without getting carried away, right, into what looks like is, amazing, but may not be. So I think that focus, anybody who keeps focus in this good cycle will be able to, be there for the long term. I think that to me is the most important point, not make a mistake.
Perfect. Nihar, thank you very much. Very good speaking to you.
Yeah, likewise.